All right. Hello, everybody. We're excited to have you for our last family engagement webinar series for the 2022 year. For those of you that I haven't met yet, my name is Leah Friedman, and I look forward to meeting you all in person sometime very soon. I just wanted to, kick it off before I throw it to Alex and our esteemed coaches and guests, just saying thank you for a wonderful first year with the organization. And I hope you and your families have a safe and happy holiday season. And we look forward to a special 2023 year with you at WTEF. So it's my pleasure to introduce our head of tennis, Alex Scheck, who will moderate our panel of esteemed coaches and player. And Alex, the floor is all yours. Thank you.
Thanks, Leah. We are very excited to continue our webinar series with parents. These have been, I think, very informational and very educational for our families. So, thank you, George, Matt, Stella, for, joining us. I'll start with George Rodriguez. He is the women's head coach at George Washington University. He was just hired this past August. Prior to coming to George Washington, George spent 2 seasons at Fresno Pacific State. Fresno Pacific State won 4 major West Region awards, including George being named the Wilson ITA Coach of the Year. In 2019, while at Grand Valley State University, George was named the ITA Midwest Region Assistant Coach of the Year after helping both the men's and the women's programs to national rankings and helping the women's team to a Sweet 16 berth. George has a ton of passion for tennis. I've been able to pick that up in my short time and knowing him, and we're excited to have him. And our very own Matt Towns. Matt Towns is in his 8th season at Morgan State. He is the coach, of both the men's and the women's program, and it's also his alma mater. Last season, Matt Towns' men's team had a 4-1 record in the MEAC conference, and the Bears finished as the runner-up for the MEAC championship. Prior to returning to Morgan State for the 2014-15 season, Towns held collegiate coaching stints as an assistant at Morgan State before heading to nearby Johns Hopkins in 2011 and 12. While at Johns Hopkins, Matt helped the men's team to a 19-4 mark, including a 9-0 in conference play record. Aside from coaching the men's and women's teams at Morgan, Matt is also a part of our staff, like I had mentioned, up at West Campus. And he has a plethora of experience and a knack for working with kids of all ages. So we're excited to, have both of them for our webinar today. I guess we'll get it started and jump right into the questions that we have for our coaches. And Matt, why don't you kick us off? But what do you look for in a recruit at Morgan State? And then George, you can kind of take over after Matt, has had the floor.
Okay, thank you. I really appreciate being here. What I'm looking for in a recruit, it kind of varies. Obviously, we're looking for experienced players. We're looking for players with, a lot of experience in tournaments. It doesn't necessarily have to be a certain ranking that I'm looking for or a certain UTR, but if we're going off of, UTR, for our ladies, we're looking at an 8 minimum, and for the gentlemen, we're looking at an 11 minimum. If you're talking about recruiting stars, for example, in the US, 4 stars and 5 stars is what we're attempting to, recruit. We've been blessed to be able to do that recently. Outside of an actual playing accolades, I think it's important we're looking for athletes that are coachable, athletes that understand what it means to be a part of a team, and athletes that understand what it's going to be like, being coached in a different environment.
Absolutely. Thanks for that, Matt. George, why don't you go ahead and give us what you're looking for in a recruit at George Washington? Given it is your first year, and I know August was just not too long ago, so I don't think you've had quite a whole recruiting year yet, but you do have, I'm sure, a lot of experience at your previous positions.
No, thank you so much, Alex. Yeah, definitely. I love recruiting. I think that's one of my favorite aspects of coaching. Believe it or not, I love that aspect because that's the area I get to meet a lot of people, get to develop relationships. So what I look for in a recruit is it's not a simple answer. It's a lot of intangibles. To me, it's what I call the intangibles. It's not just their playing level at the time. It's not just their UTR, their USTA ranking. That might be a starting point for me, but I try to go beyond that. I try to get to know the person, the individual as a person, and what I call the intangibles. You know, how much fight they have, how much passion they have for the sport, how much more they want to keep growing and developing. Are they coachable? Their attitude. And just simply just the passion and their growth. Are they a team player? Can I see them in a team environment with contributing to the team? Those are the aspects that I really look for in a recruit. And can I see myself building a relationship with them? Can they carry themselves well? Can they carry them a conversation? It's simple things like that, but to me, that's what I call the intangibles. It's a person that if we're tied up, if we're in a match and we're 3-3, and that recruit is the last person on court, you know, whether they win or lose, I don't care, as long as I know they're going to leave everything out there. That passion, that fight, that grit, that's what I look for in a recruit. So not a simple, you know, explanation, but it's what I call the intangibles.
No, I love both. I love both of those answers, and I think they have a lot of similarity in the sense that I always like to say that tennis is a game of people, and you know, the people that we serve, the families that we care for, the students, athletes that we work for and with, even our peers. You know, tennis is a small game, but it is, you know, very international as well. So you know, you can create a reputation for yourself, good and bad, and sometimes, and tennis is a game of people, very much so. And so I think you hit the nail right on the head, looking for good people first, obviously good tennis players, but you know, primarily looking, you know, at the core of who that person is. Thank you guys. Question number 2, what advice would you give families who want to get their child on the path to playing college tennis? George, why don't you start us off?
Yes, you know, for me, it's someone that's interested. You know, if you're in high school and you're interested in playing college tennis, I tell parents all the time that, you know, as soon as you know that's what they want to do, to start looking, to start reaching out to the coaches, to the coaching staff, go to a match or two, get the attention of the coach, because the coach gets a lot of emails, a lot of phone calls, a lot of just interactions with different players. So as soon as someone really is interested in college tennis, to start developing that relationship immediately. That's really important. What I tell my recruits as well, you know, what to look for, to me, it's like a puzzle for them. As a recruit, you know, me being a college player myself, back in school, and if I were to do it all over again, I think I do it differently. And the biggest advice I could give parents, and especially for the player, is to treat it like a puzzle. To me, it's like a puzzle. And to some people, there's more pieces, but for me, there's 4 big pieces. And that is it the school that you're looking for academically? Does that fit you, what you're looking for? The second part is the tennis program. Is the tennis program what you're looking for as a player? You know, is that program emphasize development, or is it just play? To make sure that you want to be in that type of environment. The third piece for me is the team. You know, can you see yourself with that team, the personalities on that team culture, that environment that's there? And then lastly is, can you see yourself developing a good relationship with that coach? To me, that coach is a big factor in the decision making as you're going through high school. So as you're going through high school, those are the factors that I'm looking at. I'm having the recruit start looking at to make sure all those pieces fit into one. if they can make that fit and start developing those relationships and narrow down the schools that they really want to attend, I think that would be a success for them.
Thanks, George. That's very comprehensive and very insightful. Matt.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing for a child who decides or is deciding, on maybe attempting to play college tennis is go to a match and not just go to one particular school. In this area, for example, this Maryland, DC area, there's all divisions, 1, 2, and 3, and there's multiple schools. So I would say get familiar with the level of competition. And so, going to these different schools, going to these matches, I think is really important for you to establish that. And then I think doing research, finding out what players are on these teams, right? Okay, what the number one player at, Morgan State, the number one player at George Washington, okay? What did they do in juniors to get to this point? What, sort of training path, or what were their ranking before they came to this college? Because I know if they're playing this number one and I want to go there, I'm going to have to be on this level as well. And so I think it can automatically allow you to see where your window is, how far you have to go, and then if you're going to have time to reach the goal that you have for this. Once you establish that, I think the next thing is to find out the school. And I think always it's picking the school for academics first, but also it's like, okay, well, of these schools, can I play on any of these teams? And then that's when I said you start doing your research some more and get into it from there. But I think the biggest thing is to go to tennis matches. They're not on TV a lot, and you don't get the full feel of what it's like. But you can go all the way up to, say, University of Maryland, right there in College Park, and they play at a high level, Big Ten Conference. You can come watch Morgan State. They're in the MEAC. George Washington was at A10, coach?
A10.
Yeah, and that A10 is another conference that's not talked a whole lot about, but they are awesome tennis, and like every school in that conference is good. And so I think, being exposed to so many different levels of college tennis is going to be great.
No, that's wonderful. I loved how you guys both touched on the importance of just getting out and boots on the ground, communication, watching matches. One thing that resonates with us is the involvement, not only the player and the desire to play, but also the parents and the families, supporting that. Tennis is unlike a lot of other sports where, there's team moms, team dads for basketball, for football. So the kids can travel, the students can travel with, these other parents that aren't necessarily theirs, but tennis is, more individualized, right? So it takes a level of commitment, not only just from the student, but from the parents to support, the kid reaching their goals, which is why we're doing these webinars. So thank you very much for that advice. Let's move on to question number 3. Waiting for it to pull up. Yes. Okay. So what are the challenges and rewards of being a student athlete? That is a complex question. Being a college athlete myself, I've had, both sides of the coin, but Matt, why don't you kick us off?
Okay. Challenges. I think the biggest challenge in making a transition into, a college athlete versus a high school athlete is time management. You get on campus and no one's going to be, cutting your light on in the morning, telling you to go to class, telling you to do these things. And you're expected to, of course, get to practice on time and participate at your fullest, and then still maintain, a very high GPA. And so I think a student athlete, it's a challenge to have that management, but it's also a reward in that regard, because once you have accomplished that, that you're going to feel so much more accomplished because you're able to do well on both sides of academics and athletics. I think it's challenging being on the team. I think junior tennis players for 12 to 15 years of tennis you're playing, you've been training for yourself, and you've been training to develop yourself as an individual. Every time you step on the court, you have, goals that are for yourself. And then all of a sudden you get to college and it's completely different. You might not need to work on, second serves, but your team does. And so guess what? Now you're not, at practice just for what you need to work on. And you're going to have to adjust to those things. You're going to have to make, sacrifices. But also it's a great reward being on the team, because there you have support in everything that you do. You have somebody going through the same things. You win together, you lose together, but you're always there. It becomes a new family for you. It's a tremendous amount of rewards and challenges, I think, in over every aspect of it.
Thanks for that, Matt.
Yeah.
George, why don't you go ahead, and then also Stella, we'd love to hear your perspective being a current student athlete at GW.
No, that's great. I mean, Matt hit that on the nail. I mean, to me, it's been through all these years, it's been that transition from high school tennis to college tennis. That level of high play that's being consistently played is making that transition. That's part of it. The second part to that is what Matt said, is that time management. So for myself, I make sure that my players have a good balance of life, what I call life balance, that they have enough time in the day to, attend their classes, to go to the 3-hour practices, to do their conditioning, have that time for 1 hour of conditioning, have time to, eat their meals, have time to study, have time to do their homework. Is creating that, having that balance. But that comes from that self-motivation as well, that self-discipline, being able to hit the ground running as a freshman, as you come into college, and being self-motivated, self-disciplined to do all that's needed to maintain not just your level of play in the tennis, but academically as well. Because academically to me is extremely important, if not more. It is more important than the tennis factor itself, because I try to when I try to build not just the player, but the person for lifelong success. So to me, Matt hit it on the spot. It's a combination of all those things there.
Stella Weissman is
Yes.
a current GW women's tennis player. So
She's the
thank you for
GOAT.
joining us. And I'm sure this is a loaded question for you, but go ahead and drop the knowledge on us.
No, thank you for having me, first of all. And yes, I definitely agree with what the coaches have said. It is definitely a question of time management, and especially coming in as a freshman, like everything is new. The transition is definitely challenging, but at the same time, you have so many people on your team going through the exact same thing. And for example, I'm living with 3 of my teammates now. Like I see them so many hours of the day, and like just experiencing all of these challenges with your friends is a huge benefit of being a college athlete. Also, just like in general, developing lifelong friends, so that you grow so much as a team, going through so many challenges, like with traveling with the team, with like going to classes with them, with living with them. Like that's just really rewarding. And then also probably just like in general, you're gonna have a lot of tough conversations being a student athlete that you might not have as a normal student, I would say. Just a lot of very like personality shaping experiences that you're gonna have that will also help you in your career later on. I mean, I'm a junior right now and I'm in the business school, so we have a lot of like mock interviews and everything, and I heard so many amazing things about being a student athlete in college. Like so many companies, and looking at your future, so many employers will admire student athletes for what they've done during their college careers. So that is a huge benefit as well.
Thank you for that, Stella. No, that's wonderful feedback. And our second question for a student athlete, I guess for you, Stella, what was, I guess you're in your third year, going into your third year. What was the biggest factor for you choosing George Washington for where you want to go to school and play tennis?
One of the biggest factors was definitely the location of the school. So being in DC is obviously a great opportunity. And just having so many things around you, there's so much to do. It's a great location. So the school is like great and the business school. So I knew that the academics were kind of taken care of. And obviously my recruiting year was kind of during COVID, so I didn't really meet the people in person, but just having Zoom calls with the team and also with the coach and just like, yeah, getting to know them over Zoom was definitely what was also like a very positive factor, because I knew that the team was very welcoming and super supportive, even from a distance. So that's a huge factor as well. So I would say the city, academics, and the team. Yeah.
Where are you originally from, Stella?
I'm from Germany. So
Germany.
yeah.
So it's a long way to go to school and play
Yeah.
tennis. So
I know,
GW must be doing something right if you're in your third year now and
Yeah.
still going strong.
Yeah, it was definitely challenging not being able to visit any schools, but just kind of the atmosphere that I already was sensing was definitely great.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. Well, thank you guys. We really appreciate all of your feedback. That wraps it up for any of the questions that we have kind of set up for the webinar. I think I think you guys kind of touched comprehensively on really the pathway to being a college athlete. The involvement of the families and the students and the commitment necessary to get to a high level of tennis. Hearing from Stella, coaches being able to share with us what you guys are looking for in student athletes, and then once they get on campus, what are the challenges and the rewards. This has just been wonderful to be able to sit down with everybody and really share this with our families is going to be very impactful. So thank you for your time.
Alex, I think there's a question in the chat.
Oh, is there a question in the chat? Okay, there is a question in the chat. As a high school player, should I focus more on my high school results, conference championship, regional states, or USTA, UTR, or a mixture of both? Go ahead, Matt. You want to answer that?
Yeah, that's fine. Personally, I can't speak for every college coach, but I don't know of a coach that really cares about high school results. I know that high school tennis is great for, team camaraderie and things like that, but I'm not going to base any recruiting off of high school results. I'm looking at USTA and UTR results and going from there. I might use, like I said, the college recruiting stars as well, like 3, 4, 5 stars, but I'm definitely not really looking at high school results.
George, thanks, Matt, for that. And then a follow-up to that. Are you guys looking for UTR first? You said USTA second. I guess it might be different for some of our international athletes or tennis players.
Sorry, Coach. Coach George, you want to answer?
No, definitely. I every coach is different. Every coach is different. Every coach looks at different, elements of a player. In high school, for myself, I try to look at the overall picture. But more importantly for me, it's how are they developing, the development side of it. If you have someone that is wins the state title, of course I'm gonna look at that, but that's not what I'm going to go after recruiting wise. To me, it's the overall aspect of development. The development side again. How many tournaments they're playing. Are they taking lessons? What are they doing off court? UTR, I do look at UTR. I look at every, it's like a tool. I see every aspect as a tool. UTR rating, that's a tool in my toolbox. The USTA rating, that's another tool in my toolbox. How many stars they have, that's another tool. So I look at all the tools that I have, and it's a combination of everything. And to me, I look at them, and for me, it's developing that relationship if they are interested, let's say at GW, at an earlier stage, whether they're a sophomore, whether they're a junior or senior, is developing that relationship with them and see their development. How are they progressing through high school? That's what I look for. Can they make an impact on the team, whether it be with their tennis or with their attitude, personality, their leadership skills? So it's a combination. There's no one, for myself, there's not one answer. I'd say I just look at UTR, which I'd be lying because I don't. I look at UTR, I look at their tennis recruiting rating, I look at their USTA results, I look at the combination, and ultimately how they're developing as a player, as a person.
Thanks for that, Coach. How about player videos? We got a question in the chat for player videos. Do you like when students send you recruiting videos, Matt?
Yeah. Okay. So if it all depends. I like international recruiting videos. Obviously, you have to use them when you are, speaking to players that aren't in the country. If a player is American and they send me a video, I don't mind it, but I'm gonna want to see them in person. And when I am watching videos, I don't want to have music like in the videos. Like as soon as I hear music in the videos, I'm telling you that I gotta turn it off. Like I don't want to watch the video anymore. And I don't watch videos where players don't miss shots. I know that you're gonna miss. You know that you're gonna miss. I don't want to see a video where you're playing like Roger Federer, because I know that I want to see everything. So I love unedited, and the sound on. I want to hear the ball. I want to hear how it's struck. Things like that. So I do appreciate videos. It's a great lead. It's a great way to open the conversation, to start the conversation, but it has to be correct. Like I said, I don't do the music. I don't want a bunch of edits in the videos and things like that. But it's a great introduction. It's a great way to start the conversation.
Thanks for that, Matt. I'll go to our last question in the sensitivity to the time. We wanted to stick to 30 minutes, but Stella, when tennis, school, and life get busy, how do you manage your time and emotions?
That's a great question. So I would definitely say a calendar is your best friend. Mapping out everything, like especially in the beginning of the semester and then also in the beginning of every week, what you have to do for school, what matches you're playing is very important to me to manage my time, because then you can also kind of space out when you have those times for, like getting coffee with a friend or kind of relaxing for a little bit. So especially, yes, in season, the calendar, for me, it's Google Calendar, is crucial to kind of help you stay on top of things in tennis and also in school.
Thanks for that, Stella. Yeah, it can be a juggling act, and finding a routine and a pattern that works best for you individually is very, very important. A support network. So that wraps it up for our webinar today. This was very insightful, informative. We really appreciate you guys taking the time out of your weeks, coaches, parents. We will be definitely sharing this with our families, and we will put this in our Rolodex for families to reference when it comes to their kid looking to play college tennis, or the hopes that their kid can get a tennis scholarship one day. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Have a good rest of your day.
You too.
Okay.